Hey there, Coach Sarah here. I'm a master Chi running instructor, and I had a great question come in this week on pelvic rotation. So one of the things that we want to think about when we're running and we're walking is rotating our pelvis. And this comes from relaxation. And I've mentioned a bunch of times over my existence as a running instructor about the difficulty I had with pelvic rotation of, having a seated job, and it was really difficult for that to happen. So I want to give you a couple tips for pelvic rotation. Pelvic rotation allows for our pelvis to rotate on its axis without, if you think of it as a soup bowl. So we want to not spill any of the soup that's coming out of the soup bowl. Many runners, and I was one of these runners, I would slosh the soup, so to speak, out the sides. And this pelvic instability is what causes the pelvis to dip on either side. And the way that would look when you're running is when you're in a one-legged posture stance, the knee would dip down like this. So it doesn't look like a whole lot of motion, but it really is, and it can cause a sensation that feels an awful lot like sciatica. A lot of discomfort and tightness in the upper pelvis here, lower back area. So again, if you're in a one-legged posture stance and you're allowing this pelvis to dip, we'll say slosh that soup, it's going to cause discomfort over the long haul. So that's what we're talking about. So we like pelvic rotation. We want to stay away from pelvic instability, aka sloshing the soup out the sides. So one way I want you to start thinking about your pelvis is if it's level and I call it loosey-goosey, disengaged from our core, because we run with our core. When we disengage our center and we shift our weight from side to side, you can see that my pelvis is also moving from side to side. One knee is bending, it's going lower than the other, and I'm not directionally aligned. It's not moving in the direction, I'm not moving in the direction I want to be heading. So that same thing is true if you're in a one-legged posture stance, it's doing this. So that's loosey-goosey. As soon as you add in your core engagement, and you can try this simultaneously, so again, we're going to get in our proper posture, lengthening, tighten up that core. Now when I shift my weight from side to side, not only are my knees tracking correctly, my hips are no longer popping out to the side. So remember, loosey-goosey looks like this, engaged core looks like this. It's a different sensation, and it looks very different as well. So one of the things that you can do to teach your body the difference, I spent a lot of time just body sensing this, because when I ran as a youngster in high school, the prompt was always, Sarah, relax your hips, relax your hips. So this is what I ended up doing, where what they were probably asking for was pelvic rotation, and I just didn't understand that prompt. So I spent a lot of time just memorizing the feeling of lifting up my pelvis so that it's level and no longer sloshing. So that core engagement is what helped me achieve this. And one of the other tips I want to add to this is when you level that pelvis, if you're pulling up from the front using your core, I want you to make sure that you're actually using your core and not clenching your glutes, because you can achieve the same thing either way, but we really want to be using our core and relaxing our glutes, okay, to make that pelvis level. Once it's level and it's kept in place by your core, then it will easily swivel on its axis, okay? If you're sensing any discomfort in your lower back area, upper pelvis, right along that ridge line of your pelvis, chances are pretty good that you're sloshing the soup out the sides from pelvic disintegrity. There's a couple of other things that I did to help myself improve my pelvic mobility, okay? Because, sitting a lot really kind of jars up and solidifies this area, this band around our body. So the body looseners, if you don't have the Chi Running app, The body looseners are included in that, so you can get a nice little video of each of them. I'll just quickly show you the ones that really helped me maximize my pelvic mobility. So the first one that we did are the sacrum circles. So that's actually taking your pelvis, you dip the soup out the front, you dip it out the side, you dip it out the back, you dip it out the other side. So you're really loosening up that whole band of body mass right here. So it feels really nice. You're loosening up the fascial tissue that kind of velcros it all in together. And this allows for a little bit more mobility. Even though you are dipping the soup intentionally during this exercise, this body loosener, it is going to help you access fluidity in your pelvis when you go out for your walk and your run. So that's very, very important. And again, you can do these all day, every day, if this is an area of need in your life, okay? The second body loosener that's really going to help prepare your body for motion and increase your fluidity in your pelvis are the pelvic rotations. And what those look like is you would take a staggered stance, 1 foot behind the other, feet are still aligned, parallel. You have a front pelvis and a back pelvis, or a hip. So front side, back side. This one is slightly to the rear. You're going to take your back one and relax, back and relax. So you're kicking this a little bit back and then just relaxing it. And you can put your hands out here just for stability, because our goal is to keep our upper body as level and still as possible. What we're trying to do is access this T12L1. We call this our pivot point. That's actually where our legs start for running and walking. So again, you take the rearward side of your pelvis and you go back and relax, back and relax, back and relax. And again, you can do these anytime of the day. So again, back and relax, back and relax, back and relax. So again, this is inviting movement into your spine, rotating your pelvis without spilling your soup. So you're training your body how to maintain a level pelvis while moving. Remember, we're not going to be sloshing soup out the sides. So if you're doing something like this, hiking it up, that's not training it to stay level. So we want a nice level pelvis while you're doing this rotation. And again, we're doing it from that pivot point of T12L1, the thoracic, where the thoracic and the lumbar spine meet. Okay, that's another really good way to just start opening up your rotation within your body. The third body loosener that addresses this is a little bit different. This one, we're going to move our dantian. These are the arm swings. So we move our arm, or we allow our arms to follow. So we're trying to keep our pelvis as straight as possible, moving our dantian and allowing the arms to follow. So this, again, we want to be mindful in terms of keeping our pelvis level. We're not sloshing it all around and being loosey-goosey in our core. We want to maintain our core integrity, move with our dantian, and allow for that rotation to start happening. So these three body looseners are very good at opening up our center, allowing for that rotation to begin, and it helps us practice not dipping the soup out of the sides. The next thing I'm going to show you is a strengthening exercise that you can do to help you maintain the leveling of your pelvis. And what you're going to need is either a yoga block or a step on a stairs, something to raise your leg on. So I've got this little handy dandy little step here. So what you'll want to do is step on here, and if you need something to hold on to, a stairs is a great one, a great place to do this. So you'll have your feet nice and parallel underneath you, and then what I want you to do is dip your pelvis down and raise it to level. Dip and level, dip and level, dip and level. Now I'm not hiking it up. I don't want to hike it up because that's going to be an unnatural motion. We want to mimic as much as we can into our running practice. So you'll want to do these on both sides, but I also want you to think about how it feels. When you notice you're dipping, you can probably feel some tension and tightening here and causing IT issues. In the long haul, if you don't resolve this dipping of the pelvis, it can really impact your IT band and down into your knee, but also in your pelvis. So again, you're gonna have your feet nice and parallel, and then you're gonna dip it and lift to parallel, dip and lift to parallel, dip and lift to parallel. And feel free to do this on both sides of your body. For me, it wasn't so much about strengthening. I mean, it was about strengthening, but it was also teaching me what it feels like when my pelvis is dipping. Remember, Chi running and Chi walking is all about body sensing. The more in touch you are with your body, the better it is. And the more you can feel it, the more you can address it. So this exercise is excellent for teaching you how it feels, but it also helps you maintain that stability in your pelvis, okay? So that's a great one you can try as well. Okay, so the next two exercises are for pelvic mobility, and these come from our friends over at Original Strength. I'm also a certified instructor for Original Strength, and these have really helped me open up my hips and be able to access more mobility in the form of pelvic rotation. So the first one is a rocking motion. So I'll show you from the side. So you're going to get in a tabletop position where your hands are underneath your wrists are underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and your head is going to be up and your chest is going to be slightly up. And all you're going to do is rock back and forth. Rocking back and forth, really just moving in a forward and rearward direction. And you can do these with your toes curled under or with your toes flat against the floor. So you can just do these back and forth, and what that's doing is just training your pelvis to open and flex, open and flex, open and flex. And that just adds in a range of motion. You can also move your knees out and closer together. So you can do 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, and just keep rocking back and forth with your head and chest kind of up while you're stacked with your shoulders over your wrists and your knees underneath or outside of your pelvis. So you can range where your knees fall and increase that mobility in all areas and angles of your pelvis. Okay, so that's a great one that I love. The next one is called windshield wipers, and this is going to also tap into that pelvic rotation. So the windshield wipers, our knees are going to fall from side to side. And so what you will do is find a spot on a rug or a mat. You're going to lay, hands can be out to the side, knees up to 90 degrees, and then you will drop them to one side, lift them up, drop them to the other, lift them up, drop and lift, drop and lift. And this is great for a couple of reasons. Number one, you're getting that rotation from side to side, so that's opening up your spine, really allowing that mobility. The second thing it's doing is it's really working your core and your center so that you're pulling up and stabilizing with your core. So I love this one. This is really a good strengthener and a mobility exercise. So 2 in 1 for that one. And I hope you have fun with these. Again, all of this is designed to help you body sense and train your pelvis to stay level while increasing the rotation and strengthening your abs simultaneously. Okay, and there you have it on pelvic rotation and pelvic mobility. I hope you found these helpful. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me at sarah@riseandshine.run, or I'll see you in the community.